Well, welcome everyone to a truly special online event today. This is a celebration and a tribute and an honoring of a legacy that is truly extraordinary. Before we begin and visit with Stan, Brigitte, and our guests, we'd like to show this curated video from Stan's team to set the tone and container before we spend some time to honor the profound work and influence of this great man.
Stan Grof is known as a pioneer of psychedelic psychotherapy. Drawing from his own experiences and from thousands of high-dose LSD sessions with his patients, the insights he gained personally, combined with the experiences of his patients, expanded his understanding of the human psyche. It stretched beyond the biographical information that begins after we are born to memories surrounding our time in the womb and during the birth process. His expanded map even included the spiritual nature of humanity, recognizing past life experiences and dimensions of consciousness we share with all of creation. Stan used these insights to co-found transpersonal psychology with Abraham Maslow, and working with his wife Christina, organized international transpersonal conferences around the world. During much of this period, Stan was also the scholar in residence at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur. Spiritual masters and groundbreaking pioneers, representing a broad spectrum of disciplines, were frequent guests at the workshops and month-long retreats he offered during his 14 years there. It was there that Stan developed holotropic breathwork, a breathing technique that could induce powerful non-ordinary states of consciousness, similar to an LSD session.
And 1954, we got a sample of ampules of LSD. They got an idea that it might be something interesting for psychiatrists, psychologists, and would we want to work with it? So my preceptor did not have the time to spend 6 to 8 hours with people on LSD. And so he used several of us as gophers. We were sitting there and taking care of the experimental subjects and keeping records. But in that early stage, students were excluded. So I had 2 years when I was listening to these incredible stories and not being able to have the experience. So just about the first thing I did, and I graduated, was to have this experience myself. My consciousness was catapulted out of my body. I lost the research assistant, I lost the clinic, I lost Prague, I lost the planet. And then I have the feeling that I was completely extinguished. I ceased to exist in the form in which I knew myself, and instead I had the feeling that I somehow became all of existence. I became nothing, but by becoming nothing, I became everything. At that point, it was absolutely clear to me that what they taught me in the university, that consciousness is somehow created by the activity of the neurons in the brain, suddenly it's totally absurd. I mean, it was clear to me that consciousness was a cosmic phenomenon. Could matter, bouncing of atoms or subatomic particles, create all that we see, including the beauty of nature, the beauty of the universe, the intelligence that you see in animals, that you see in people. Is it really something that can create science and philosophy? Then you see it's absurd. There is a beauty and there is an intelligence which cannot come out of matter. So I came down from this session that if I'm now stuck with psychiatry, this is by far the most interesting thing I could do, studying these non-ordinary states.
Stan represents what has been sorely lacking, which is the long through line, a work over decades. He's been able to provide a huge body of empirical lore.
It's only fitting that Stan experienced his own rebirth after Christina's passing.
I just would add a toast to "It's never too late." In everyone's life, it is just never too late.
I never expected that late years in my life will be the happiest time of my life.
We're here to gather and honor Stanislav Grof on his 95th birthday. He's a pioneer whose work has profoundly impacted so many different fields, from psychology to consciousness research to spirituality to psychedelics, astrology. There's a huge legacy from this man who has pioneered really consciousness evolutionary work for 6 decades now, or 7 decades perhaps. So we started this hour with a little video to ground you in the arc of Stan's life, not just as a theorist, but as a living bridge between worlds of science, spirituality, psyche and soul, the personal and the cosmic. And today's honoring is going to be an organic conversational space, a living tribute from some of the people who are pioneering the fields that we've discussed and really building upon Stan's legacy. So rather than just a singular conversation, we've really invited a circle of beloved colleagues, students, and pioneers to share their reflections, stories, and insights. We'll have some key themes and ideas, particularly from Stan's work around the cosmic game, and reflect around Stan's role in bridging spirituality into contemporary psychology in a way that has influenced generations and really seeded the generation of a whole new field of psychology called transpersonal psychology. So we're incredibly honored to have Stan here with us today, as well as with his wife and collaborator, Brigitte. And Stan is generally sort of not going to be responding to things directly, but just receiving with his presence and really blessing us with his his beautiful soul. And so I personally have to say I've been blessed by Stan in so many ways, really foundational in my own healing journey, my own growth as a leader within the consciousness space, and just felt so personally blessed by his warmth, depth, and wisdom for so many decades. And so today's a special day for me as well. So with that, let's go ahead and begin. And I want to invite our first person to speak about Stan, who really collaborated so much with him over the years. I personally attended insight and opening retreats that they led. His name is Jack Kornfield. He's one of the foremost teachers of bringing Buddhist wisdom into Western psychology and healing. And Jack, I just want to invite your reflections about Stan, all the work you did together. How do you really see this moment of honoring his legacy on his 95th birthday?
Dan is one of the most important mentors and inspirations and people in my whole life. And I first met him more than 50 years ago when he was just finishing up. He had just finished up his work at Johns Hopkins and the Maryland Psychiatric Research Center, moved out to Esalen. And I'd just come back from training for some years as a Buddhist monk in Southeast Asia and Thailand and Burma and India. And I felt like I met a human being whose mind was as wide as all the teachings that I received in these great monasteries. I've met a few people that inspire me in a kind of genius way. And part of what was wonderful about Stan, and is wonderful, is that he not only has a knowledge of the, as you described, psychology and medicine and the arts and physics and chemistry and modern science and music, but he carries it all with a huge vision of how consciousness holds it, and actually how it is part of the play. It is the play of consciousness. And what that gives Stan, and what showed me, is this beautiful, spacious equanimity or peace in the middle of everything. And I've watched Stan work with people over these 50 or more years and doing the depth work that's transformative through holotropic breathwork and psychedelics. People go through all the parts of Dante's Divine Comedy and beyond, the hell realms and purgatory and ecstatic heaven realms, and then beyond the transpersonal realms that Stan has mapped out brilliantly, becoming a tree or an animal or the cosmos or the solar system or whatever. And Stan holds all of this from a place of wisdom, graciousness, and a huge warm heart. That the kindness of Stan and the attentiveness and the care that's there, along with this extraordinary spacious intelligence, was just transformative for me to be around. And I have been part of dialogues with Stan and programs we've done at Esalen and an Inside Opening with many other thought leaders and spiritual teachers. And Stan has always held this, made a place that allowed the voices and the care and the vision of these people to be honored with a kind of humility is almost not the right word because it's more of a superpower. There's some way. It's not just being humble; it's being present for it all, like a great wizard or magician who's kind of smiling at all that's happening and has a deep knowing that this is the play that we're in. That being said, I've also been part of, and graced to be part of, times in Stan's life that were very personal. His marriages or the kind of deep human relations that we have as friendships for all these years. And that has its own magic and sweetness to it, because almost everybody I know in Stan's orbit has been perfumed, if you will, unknowingly by a kind of benign and profound appreciation and love. So what I can say is Stan has been one of the most important people I've ever met in my life. He changed my life. He opened me into new vistas. I've been with all the swamis and lamas and mamas you could name, some of them better than others, some of them behave better than others too. Stan, in his humility, people don't wear Hawaii shirts like Stan does. He doesn't get people to copy him and be like him. What he does is he's there with a kind of huge, heartful presence and an amazing wisdom. And I should stop here because I could go on and on about Stan. I hope I've begun to answer your questions.
Jack, that was a beautiful tribute. You actually brought tears to my eyes. So touching. Thank you. I want to bring next up Paul Grof, who is Stan's brother, but also a distinguished psychiatrist and researcher. And Paul, you've known Stan longer than anyone here, and obviously have a very wide-angle lens on his evolution and contribution. And just maybe share a little bit capture something about him as a person for us that might not be part of the public side.
Well, Stan's been great blessing for my life, personally and professionally. But I think you're right, I can probably contribute more by some of the special memories. First of all, kind of things that, of course, his close friends all know, but for the public, it might be of interest. So when I was born, the first memories of Stan is Stan drawing and painting. For me, he is as much an artist as he is scientist. And he started publishing his drawings, paintings. He was about 7, 8 years old. We have some painters in the ancestry, in the family. Our mother was quite an amazing painter. I have a collection of her paintings here. And so that was, for Stans, that was the professional career he saw for himself until adolescence come and we started, of course, reading Freud, and that changed the perspectives then. But the artist, I think, stayed with him, and the amazing ability to paint and draw his own visions and the visions of his clients and patients, that was a huge contribution in communicating his thoughts, getting them out in the world. It's easy to appreciate now in hindsight. So the other kind of special memories that people will not know is, for example, how Stan learned English. Now, he was in jail, and the only thing they were allowed to have was a book. So he asked mother to bring in Shakespeare, the collected works of William Shakespeare. And so that was Stan's base. And so when in early 1960s, it became possible for British and Americans to come across the border, he was asked to guide them, and that was quite an experience because Prague has this collection of medieval architecture and statues and everything. So he would be the guide, and he would tell them everything, about the different medieval swords and medieval halberds, and they were absolutely freaked out. There's a young Czech guy who's never been across the border, and his English revolves around medieval topics. So and then of course I could go for 3, 4, 5 hours just talking about the extraordinary synchronicities. I'm convinced there has been guidance from the top. Otherwise, these things would not have happened, would not have brought him to where he is now. Such an amazing teacher that has communicated the depth of human consciousness to the world.
Amazing stories. And wow, that's news to me about Shakespeare being the foundation. That explains a lot for why his English is better than ours oftentimes. So Brigitte, go to you, because you've been Stan's deep collaborator, beloved partner for several decades now. And I'd love to just get your angle from that intimate realm of partnership on this beautiful man you've been partnered with.
Well, I think you already, especially Jack, you described Stan so well. And I mean, for me, our love is the biggest gift in my life, and also the work. It's such a blessing. When I came to Esalen, I was 26, I was very young, 40 years ago. And of course, everybody loves Stan, so I loved him immediately. And it is just his being. I mean, I've never met anybody in my whole life, or especially a man, who is so powerful, so much in service, and so gentle and kind at the same time. So it's amazing, and this incredible knowledge, the deep service he has. He's just one of the most egoless people I know, and the humor. I mean, he has a really great humor, and the spirit. I mean, when he had that stroke about 8, 9 years ago, I mean, you have to imagine he lost his voice, his speech, and you know how he can speak and teach, and losing that was such a nightmare. And but he was never complaining. He didn't get angry or anything. The only thing, once he broke into tears when he said, I cannot write you a loving Christmas card, when his writing was also going. The eyes were going bad, But he got never grumpy or angry. And even when he had the stroke and he was in the rehab in San Francisco, yeah, I mean, people get really angry when this happens to them. And Stan was there. I came in the room and he's sitting in the bed and he said, I'm so excited. It's like being back in school, He's learning to speak again. And everybody was in love with him, of course. It's just this way. And aging is such an ego death. I mean, you lose everything. He cannot read anymore or write or speak really well. He cannot walk very well anymore. And I say, Stan, you are like a young man in an old car, because inside the body is old and all these functions go down. But inside, Stan is Stan as ever. He's super awake. He's super curious. He's super loving, kind, and in service. I mean, he says for him it's not work. So there is no free time and work. It's just his life. And I mean, everybody who has worked with him, the way he goes to people, again, with a beginner's mind, he knows so much, but he never went to the people on the mattress saying, I know. He goes there and he's listening to the process that comes from within, the healing, the intelligence that comes from the person. And he would always ask, what is happening? Where is it exactly? He never comes with, I know. And this beginner's mind and this humbleness is really, really touching. And also, of course, the love for humanity, for people, for life, for the planet, for the cosmos, for the knowledge, and also the blessing of the love we have is amazing. So, what to say?
Paul, I told you many times that you're the best brother I can imagine. I would take it again now many times.
Well,
I believe that from the time I think 17, I mean, we have never been in any kind of problems, with each other.
well, I'm still trying to negotiate with you the same arrangement for the next life,
Ahead.
But may I just add one sentence to what Brigitte was saying? Stan is actually still working. We're connecting weekly, and he's still working on deepening his theories. He just has difficulty communicating it because of the language, but he's still working deeply on expanding his theories.
Yeah, his mind is completely there, and it's just sometimes it's like the road. Let me say the road to the word is sometimes not easy to find, but the mind, he's totally. I mean, like always, like when I met him.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chris, I want to bring you in next because I think one of the nature of pioneering new domains inspires other people to pioneer even further. In some ways, your personal explorations into the deeper dimensions of psychedelic experience really required Stan's foundation and went to some interesting new territory as well. And so I'd love for you to just talk about sort of his legacy through your lens in terms of particularly the sort of the deeper dimensions of reality and how those can be disclosed through psychedelic experience.
Well, Stan changed the course of my entire professional life and my personal life, and that's such an enormous debt I owe him, one that I can never thank you enough for, Stan. I met Stan at the very beginning of my academic career, 1978, and I met his mind first, about 7-8 years before I had met him in person at the Omega Institute in a workshop. And I met his mind in realms of the human unconscious. And that book had a huge impact on my life because I saw in it not only the depth of his clinical insights and his understanding of his unfolding of the perinatal impact on one's psychological development, but for me, more importantly, I encountered his extraordinary phenomenological charting of transpersonal experiences that emerge in psychedelic states. So at a time when academics were dismissing psychedelics as hallucinogens and therefore having no philosophical importance, Stan fearlessly and rigorously was laying out a cartography of consciousness that affirmed matter-of-factly that these states are real and they're replicable. Because then when that book was published in 76, and then 1980, he published LSD Psychotherapy. So 10 years after what was the name of the act? The act which basically made all psychedelics illegal, Stan was outlining and presenting the protocols that he had developed over 20 plus years in Prague and subsequent positions. So he gathered and preserved all this knowledge of therapeutic experience, which had been gathered by him and his colleagues, and preserved it and passed it on to the next generation of researchers in the belief that psychedelics were too important to lose entirely and that we would eventually have the wisdom to come back and reclaim them. And so he gave us not only a round of insights into the depth of the collective psyche, which he presented with great scholarship. And as a young academic, I was really impressed by the caliber of his mind and his scholarship that he presented, the depth of his knowledge of spiritual traditions. Later, the quality of his engagement of new paradigm scientific thinkers, the way he brought together consciousness research with post-quantum relativistic thinkers in such a creative fertilization. Well, at those early stage, when I saw him present the protocol on psychedelic therapy, I knew that he was seeding a revolution, not just in clinical psychology, but a revolution in philosophy, which was my discipline, philosophy of religion, because he gave us a methodology. And that represented a turning point in Western philosophy, present in indigenous cultures and ancient cultures, but in modern Western culture, this was a new methodology for exploring philosophical questions of metaphysical and cosmological significance. And that's basically what seeded my appetite for my own work. And I began my own work following Stan's protocols, exploring, following in his steps. And I don't think I would have had the courage, Stan, to go some of the places I went had I not known that you had gotten there first and you had survived it and you left such a tremendously strong presentation and integration of those experiences in your own life. And later when I met your person and I saw the robust person, not only this profound intellect and scholar, but the human being, and I watched you walk around a room in holotropic breathwork, and I watched you work in the room, and I saw the sensitivity and the delicacy and the integrity and the way you worked with people was so moving that as a young academic growing in this work, you just really set a model for me in my personal life and in my professional life, for which I am eternally grateful, my friend.
Beautiful, honoring. It really gets at the depth of the academic impact as well of his work and life. Diane, I want to bring you forward next. Diane Haug is one of the master facilitators of holotropic breathwork, which is a methodology that Stan created and was part of what brought me. I originally was drawn to the work on psychedelics, went to CIS, but then once I experienced holotropic breathwork, it really, in some ways, was a blessing that psychedelics had to go underground for a little while, because holotropic breathwork emerged out of that and really became a method that inspired a whole field of breathwork as a path for transpersonal transformation. So Diane, I'd love for you to share your experience, a little bit about that legacy in new forms of therapeutic breathwork and some of the legacy that you experience as well.
Thank you, Stephen.
as you might have noticed, I'm feeling incredibly moved to be in your company this morning and stand to have the pleasure and the honor of being a part of this celebration. We're still standing, and I met Stan when I was in my 30s, and as Chris just mentioned, same for me. Meeting Stanton as a young mental health professional in my 30s actually just changed the trajectory of my personal and my professional life. I had never encountered the scope, his cartography. I was just stunned by that. But that same weekend, I had a chance to actually participate in breath work, which I knew nothing about. And I was stunned by that experience. I had my life, I had 10 years already of working with end of life care. But what I saw in that breathwork session, I thought, oh my gosh, uh, uh, um, this tool just had the capacity to open people in ways that I just bypassing the thinking mind, the intellect, the use of language, but the focus just had the capacity to offer people physical healing. That was my first attraction to the work, having worked with cancer patients and understanding that body-mind connection and seeing a practice that really allowed people to access those experiences in a somatic way. At any rate, it's been decades now, and I have continued to find the work, Stan's work, so compelling and so useful. I'm going to fast forward to the last decade in response to the question I was asked to address. I've had, since its inception in 2016, I've been part of the instructional team at CIIS, in particular, the certificate program under the umbrella of the Center for Psychedelic Therapy and Research. And I've been invited to represent Stan's legacy in that context. So in the last decade, it's been so exciting to work with hundreds of licensed professionals, some 20, 30 years into a career, but with no exposure to Stan's work at all. So I've been thrilled to continue to plant the seeds, both theoretically, but also to offer people experiential opportunities via the breath work. And it has been so satisfying. And I would say I feel it's vital that helping professionals be exposed to Stan's theoretical foundation. Initially, I'm stunned at how limited people's understanding can be, even trained professionals, in relation to what I would call the landscape of the psyche. The people I connect with, they know a lot about biography and the way in which our early experience can impact us. But to introduce and plant the seeds of the of pre and perinatal psychology, not to mention the transpersonal realms in those settings, has just been I think it's so important. I work with a lot of people who are choosing a path. They want to be involved in this emerging field of psychedelic psychotherapy. They see themselves as being in clinical settings, research settings, bringing it into their own private practices. But I am finding that in many times their understanding of that landscape of the psyche is really not, in my opinion, as full and complete as it needs to be. And I must say, I've had concerns over the last years, that so many people who are moving into the field are underprepared, really. So I have felt very, it's brought me great satisfaction to keep, I feel like I'm, planting seeds of Stan's work wherever I go. And I think it's foundational. I think it's seminal. I think it's critical. If you think you're prepared to work with people, for example, with post-traumatic stress disorder, and you don't understand that cartography, if you've never been exposed to it or exposed to the skill set required to hold space, um, I think there's more to learn. And I would also add that working with a population of often, psychonauts and psychonauts with professional backgrounds, to have them come into breathwork contexts. This may sound wild and almost unbelievable, but I'm working with so many people like that who meet the breathwork maybe for the first time, or they're circling back to meet it again. And they're telling me constantly, wow, this breathwork process, it's right up there. It is really, in some cases, they're telling me this breathwork experience actually means more to me than any psychedelic experience I've had. And I think there are a variety of reasons for that. And I'm not going to be able to go there in this conversation, but it's stunning to see people with lots of experience behind them go, oh my gosh, I had this experience and it was not dependent on a molecule. This is an intrinsic intelligence, a wisdom inherent in my psyche and my body and my heart, and under the right conditions. And, that has to be carefully crafted. Those conditions need to be carefully crafted. But to feel people experiencing that and understanding they have agency that's not dependent on a substance is so. I just feel, in terms of his theoretical contribution, his experiential contribution, and what he has modeled as, Jack and Chris, I was just so touched by what you articulated about Stan the person and Brigitte. Oh my gosh, that we've been able to experience this and have Stan's modeling over the years. How amazing. So
Thank you, Diane, for the beautiful offering. Rick, I want to bring you in next and first honor you for you've done some heavy lifting at the frontiers of the psychedelic renaissance in a time when it was not popular, and it was a bit of career suicide to even be talking publicly about psychedelics, since it went through such a time of being really you could have real ostracization professionally. So you really took up that mantle, helped to coalesce the field, move it forward. And I'd love for you just your reflections on this legacy of seeing psychedelics as a very important, even essential part of our transformational toolkit. And now we're entering a phase in which that's increasingly mainstreamed and getting legalized in different ways. And I think is really going to change the psychology of the future.
Yeah, well, if not for Stan, I wouldn't have probably done anything near what I've been able to do. And like Chris, I was introduced to Stan by Realms of the Human Unconscious, but I managed incredibly in 1972 when I was experimenting for the first time with LSD, with mescaline, and got really confused. I really didn't understand or appreciate the need for integration. And I went to the guidance counselor at my college, which was New College in Sarasota, Florida. And the guidance counselor took me seriously. I said, my psychedelic experiences are becoming more important than my intellectual studies, because I realized that both me and society in general is way overdeveloped intellectually and underdeveloped emotionally and spiritually. And the guidance counselor said, here's a manuscript copy of Realms of the Human Unconscious, years before it was published. that he gave me to read. And it was reading that book organized my whole life and made me recognize that the value of psychedelics, when used in both a clinical research context, but also in a therapeutic context, fundamentally, and then with Stan's brilliant mind, the realms of the human unconscious. I didn't really trust religion because religion is so freighted with myths and beliefs that are, non-rational or even just culturally held. But I felt that that Stan's view of things was so trustworthy that it was looking at mystical experiences, looking at unit of consciousness, looking at all the range of things that psychedelics can produce, but from a scientific framework. And I actually felt that this validated, in a way, my political understandings, that this unit of mystical experience that was validated by what Stan had seen in thousands of people doing psychedelics, particularly LSD, was something real and something connected to a larger science and understanding. But what really appealed to me was this reality check in a way that Stan had on therapy. It wasn't just abstract theorizing or, on and on of, mystical realms of all these different things, but it was, what do those things do in service of helping people overcome depression, overcome fear of death, overcome alcoholism, overcome all the challenges of life and find meaning and purpose. It was that anchor and therapy that others, I think, have talked about in terms of Stan's kindness. It was, how do we take these things that we are seeing and knowing that challenge everything that we know about the psyche, but use them for helping people? And so I asked the guidance counselor if he could forward a letter to Stan because I had decided that I wanted to be a psychedelic therapist. So I was 18 years old, very confused. Stan was MD, PhD, around 44 years old, and was seeing everything shut down, not just at Hopkins, the research there, but around the world with the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 and the whole globalization of America's repression of psychedelic research all over the world, that I wanted Stan's advice on how do I become a psychedelic therapist. And at first I thought it would be underground only. But the guidance counselor said, sure, I'll forward this letter to Stan. And what really has changed everything for me is that Stan wrote me back from his position and said that it was important what I was trying to do. And he invited me to a workshop that he and Joan Halifax were giving at the end of the summer out at the Mann Ranch. And I hitchhiked across America and met Stan in person. And it just so solidified my desire to make a contribution to the world. And the same way that, psychedelics were criminalized and that shut things down, for me, that was a sign that the government saw psychedelics as a threat in a way. They were used by the hippies and the anti-war movement, but it was this sense that we're bigger than who we think we are, that we're connected to everything and connected to everyone. And that has both, I think, scientific validity that I saw from the work that Stan did, but also political implications of being more empathic, more open to people that are different to us, seeing our fundamental unity. And so Stan invited me to this event, which I went to, and it was this combination of his focus on therapy, his humanness, and also his intellectual brilliance that validated the way that these experiences can really help people, that made me focus on psychedelics. So when I was 18, I did that, but I realized that I wasn't really mature enough. I needed to do the integration, and that took me 10 years of doing on my own. So I had no contact with Stan, no contact with really anybody in the field, but I was just reading the books and tripping every now and then. And 10 years later, in 1982, when I was finally ready to go back to school as a college freshman at age 28 and also try to put psychedelics again first in my life, the first thing I wanted to do was to go reconnect with Stan. And so I got permission from the school my very first semester back to go 1982 to Esalen for a month-long workshop that Stan and Christina were offering called the Mystical Quest. And it was during that workshop that a woman named Debbie Harlow came. She wasn't in that workshop, but she talked about this new drug called Adam, and introduced me to it. And so I learned about MDMA also because of Stan. And if I had not been there at Esalen, I wouldn't have known anything about MDMA. But I realized that I'd woken up to the value of LSD from Stan's work after the backlash. But now I was waking up to the value of MDMA before the backlash. And all throughout this, I think Stan has been this sort of through line from the work that was done basically in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then suppressed from then on into the psychedelic renaissance that we have now. And it was Stan not saying, oh, we don't need psychedelics, let's just meditate, we've passed beyond this stage of psychedelics. It was the development of holotropic breathwork, which was a legal way to access non-ordinary states of consciousness. But he was, in many cases, a lone voice about the value of psychedelics as well. Despite the incredible power and potential of holotropic breathwork, he kept saying that there's still a value for psychedelics as well. So it was really Stan that's the through line between the early work, the suppression, and the psychedelic renaissance that we experience right now. So I just felt that the incredible courage that Stan had to take risks in the service of healing has been a guidepost throughout my entire life. And so I'm just so deeply grateful for having Stan respond to my letter as a confused 18-year-old back in 1972. Because if he hadn't written me back, who knows where I'd be or where the field would be. And so I just am so pleased to be among the group here today to honor.
What a beautiful saga. Thank you, Rick, for sharing all of that. And Jay, I want to turn to you since you're really full time now taking on the sort of the building of this legacy for the future. And you're also going to be the facilitator for the upcoming course we'll have a chance to talk about after you, which is a remarkable way to get the distillate of Stan's work and worldview and also engage with so many pioneers here. And there's others that are going to participate as well. But Jay, I'd love for you to reflect a little on the future and where you see this work continuing to evolve as we go forward over the next decades.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. First of all, what an honor to be here, particularly among present company and to work with Stan and Brigitte. And I'll just go to happy birthday, Stan. Thank you for everything. And I'll start a little personally. I've told Stan so many times over the years that I was, over 30 years ago, a young lawyer working under stressful conditions in California, and things that Stan would call spiritual emergencies started happening to me. What we might call mystical experiences, energies, unconditional love, what felt like, past life memories. And, people around me, I think, would have liked me to get some psychiatric assistance. But fortunately, I found Stan's work and came to understand that these experiences, were valuable, which is what they felt like. And that if I followed them and integrated them, that they could be transformative for me and lead to a richer life, which has certainly happened. And I, followed them into graduate school in transpersonal psychology, first experienced holotropic breathwork with profound experiences I remember to this day. So following one thing after another, and one of the things I love about Stan's work is the recommendation to always turn towards what's emerging, whether it feels easy or difficult, with Stan's legendary curiosity to turn towards what's there, let it evolve, find safe ways to work with it, and really, acting in that way, even in times that seem precarious or challenging, has led me to be able to help Stan and Brigitte build Grof legacy. So yes, we have a training program. Diane is an important component of Grof legacy, and we develop programs internationally for people to train to become holotropic breathwork. We call it actually Grof breathwork in our programs to link it, back directly to Stan, but training to become facilitators, which is a long and I think a sensitive process. Stan has always said that the work we do on ourselves is the most important work we can do if we want to support other people in transformative states. So we create courses, week-long experiences where people can dive deeply into their own work while also being immersed in Stan's theoretical work. And we're grateful to have Stan's lectures with your company, Stephen, over the years that people can see to hear Stan's teaching directly. And really excited, as Diane and others have mentioned, um, whether or not everyone knows it, I think Stan's methods and Stan's recommendation to turn within and recognize the power of our psyche to heal itself and the power of, individual healing to spread out communally into the world is what, keeps me going and what I'm excited to bring to a number of people. And I'll conclude with saying that among the things I love about Stan's work is the way it helped me remember that these kinds of experiences are our birthright,
Mm.
and it's Western civilization, I think, that has convinced many of us that there's something wrong with them and that we need to stay within a particular box. But Stan, for me, linked ancient practices from all over the world with contemporary developments in physics and biology and all the sciences to understand that, if we can turn within, that it's really the way not to just to heal ourselves, but really, I think the hope for our species, if we can each clear ourselves and bring, this love and this equanimity and this compassion out into the world around us. So I'm here to help. I'm excited to have a chance to talk with everyone here and a few others as we look at the cosmic game. And I'm excited for the lectures to reach the public. As I began to watch them, I told Stan and Brigitte it was so nice to see Stan's sense of humor so lively in those lectures, and the way I don't know that I've met anyone who can hold such important topics with kind of a lightness that
Mhm.
helps people hear them and understand them and realize, we are here not to make light of it, not just a game because there's some serious stuff on this planet, but to take it as a way for growth and hope.
Mm. Well, this has been amazing already today, and what a blessing. There's a lot of things that I hadn't even heard. So I feel like we should kind of wrap this first portion before we talk about the cosmic game and the opportunity to go deeper with all of you and others around Stan's work with like it's probably too much to try to sing together, but maybe we can do like just everybody say happy birthday, Stan, little twinkle fingers or something, just to kind of really send our blessings in this moment, encourage everybody around the world, just pour gratitude and blessings on this beautiful man. Thank you, Stan, for all you've done with your 95 years. What an incredible legacy you have offered the world, us personally. What a blessing. Thank you, Stan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I myself would have mentioned something that without Brigitte, we would not now all over the world go into breathwork and also psychedelics when it's possible. Yeah,
Mm.
you can find it.
The training, you speak about the training.
Yeah. Yes.
Training.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
First of all, I want all people who are listening to know that the trainings that Stan and Brigitte and Diana and so forth are about the best trainings in the world. And there are all these places that are starting programs for psychedelic guides, and I've been asked to help with some of them. And they're okay, but they don't generally have the depth of inner experience, and they don't invite people to go through their own process of opening and dying and being reborn and opening to all the realm that make you a truly great sitter and helpful to anybody doing the journey. So first, I just want to kind of uplift. This is about the best there is in the world. And there's so much to learn from it. Two more things. I want to celebrate Stan as a lover of life. What a model. He loves food. We won't go further with that, but he does. He loves travel. He loves adventure. He loves science. He loves arts and music. he kind of carries a delight about life. And with that curiosity, there's no place that I've gone in all my years that Stan hasn't been somehow included, it hasn't included in his own map this huge, broad, wonderful heart and mind. Um, I want to express my gratitude, which everybody has, because you've really changed my life, Stan, and awakened things in me that are just as important as anything. And then the two of you, Stan and Brigitte, together are the dynamic duo. It's kind of blessed. And Brigitte, I've known since you were really young, and to watch you flower and then to see the depth of love between the two of you is extraordinary. And we talk about all this. I have one more, I could a million stories that I could tell. But when I was first connecting with you in the early 70s, I don't know whether it was through you or Lockwood Rush, some of these inch-wide black and white videotapes of people doing LSD sessions at the Psychiatric Research Center in Maryland. And I remember this old miner from West Virginia who was in incredible pain, a very advanced cancer, and also terribly frightened. And there were these hours, and then all of a sudden, you see his face change. Jesse was his name. And he says, "Oh, I ain't afraid no more. I seen God. My pain is gone. That doesn't matter. I seen God." And I'm going to say, okay, this is not what you see in a normal hospital medical setting. And there was something about that smile and vision that's part of what you've invited people to find in, thousands or millions of ways. So just gratitude to you, Stan, and love and blessings.
The cosmic smile. It's contagious. So I do want to spend a little bit of time now with folks who would like to go deeper into this beautiful field of gratitude and deep awakening and transformation that we've already heard about, because we do have this really unique opportunity to do so. Brigitte came to us saying, we want to sort of do something that would kind of like honor the legacy and build on it. And so came up with this really beautiful concept, which was to take a seminal workshop called The Cosmic Game that was given at Spirit Rock, where Jack teaches, to sort of really synthesize the deeper transformations of worldview that emerge from people out of psychedelic experience, holotropic breathwork. All of these things point towards a deeper cosmology, a deeper map understanding of who we are, why we're here, and some of the most important spiritual questions get addressed. So Stan addressed these in his workshop. And now we're going to have a chance to actually create a kind of a synthesis of this recorded workshop with the live reflections, integrative wisdom of the pioneers here, and a few others as well. So it's going to be a unique kind of hybrid of recorded transmission that has not been released publicly, that has not been released around the world. So it's a unique body of work. It has humor in it, it's philosophical depth, and it's going to be combined with this sort of personalized live interaction with so many other pioneers. And Stan will himself join for the last session, and we'll see, and Brigitte will be there as well. So it'll be kind of a way to celebrate this legacy, build upon it, deepen our own personal transformation, and go further. So we've laid this out at the URL, thecosmiccourse.com, which I think is kind of a fun URL for this, the Cosmic Course. And it's going to be a 7-week journey, and all of the people here today are going to play a role. Module 1, called Expand Your Understanding of Consciousness, Healing, and Human Potential, with guest Jack Kornfield. Module 2, Explore the Deeper Patterns, Connecting Consciousness, Spiritual Experience, and Reality, with guest Chris Beisch. Module 3, Discover Your Deeper Identity Beyond the Limits of the Personal Self, with guest Paul Grof. Next is Module 4, called Transform Your Understanding of Karma, Healing, and Spiritual Awakening, with guests Will Keepin and Cynthia Bricks. Rick Doblin hosts Module 5, called Discover Your Divine Nature and Place in the Cosmic Game. Module 6, Integrate Spiritual Wisdom into Everyday Life, with guest Diane Haug. And finally, our culminating session called Integrate Expanded Consciousness into a Meaningful Life with Stan Grof and his wife, Brigitte, with special guests Rick Tarnas and Becca Tarnas. It's a chance to interact directly with Stan's most essential teachings, explore the deeper patterns that connect psyche, spirituality, and cosmos, dialogue with these pioneers in the field, and also support Stan's ongoing work and also this legacy that we've talked about today. So it's a chance to explore subjects like the evolution of consciousness and human potential, the deeper identity beyond the personal self, karma, archetypal forces, spiritual awakening, and your place in the larger unfolding of the cosmic game. So we'll have all the folks here: Jack Kornfield, Chris Beisch, Paul Grof, Rick Doblin, Diane Hugg, Brigitte, and then the new ones will be Rick Tarnas, who's a pioneer in archetypal astrology, Becca Tarnas, also in archetypal astrology, Will Keepin, and Cynthia Bricks, who also have multiple influences from Stan's work. And Jay is going to be facilitating each module. So it's a live interactive experience. We will play a segment of the Cosmic Game Workshop, and then there'll be an ongoing dialogue and reflection with each of the teachers as well. So it's kind of a unique combination. So let's share a little bit more about the program, and there's more at thecosmiccourse.com. So you'll receive 7 pre-recorded sessions with Stan Grof, followed by discussion and Q&A with guest speakers. You're also going to have a chance to go back whenever you want with video and audio recordings, as well as transcripts that really allow you to work with these studies, which highlight all the key practices for your future referencing. There are also weekly exercises you can do at home. There's a community group to support you and deepen your experience. And there's also small group time to connect with other participants during the course of the journey as well. Wow, there are a number of unique and exclusive bonuses when you sign up for this program. There's a video interview with Stan Grof and Jeffrey Mishlove called Adventure of Self-Discovery. An in-depth conversation where Stan and Jeffrey explore the frontiers of consciousness, the healing potential of non-ordinary states, and profound insights into the nature of the human psyche. You'll also receive Stan's book, Healing Our Deepest Wounds, The Holotropic Paradigm Shift by Stanislav Grof. This book by Dr. Grof is an unprecedented consolidation and focusing of his life's work in consciousness research. Exclusively, we have one special bonus that you get if you sign up by midnight tonight. This is an 84-minute video interview with Stan Grof and Dr. Amit Goswami, a rare conversation between 2 visionaries of consciousness. This remarkable dialogue has remained hidden in the archives for nearly a decade and has never been available to the public. In the conversation, these 2 visionaries explore profound questions about consciousness, reality, and human potential, drawing on decades of groundbreaking research and experience. So you'll receive this beautiful extra bonus when you sign up by midnight tonight. So a few other things about this course. We've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start July 22nd and run Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings of transcripts in the community as well. So I encourage you to go to that page, read through, tune in with your own inner knowing. And if you want to continue this really beautiful, deepening dialogue about awakening, spirituality, psychedelics, transformation, building upon the life and legacy of Stan, this is a beautiful way to do so. And you're really going to get to also engage some of the most extraordinary pioneers that Stan has inspired. So we're really blessed to do this program. It's a fitting tribute to the 95th birthday, this legacy, and a chance to support Stan and all these the advancement of all these ideas. And again, at thecosmiccourse.com. So let's move towards a closure here, and maybe anything that, just one sentence that just you want to speak from your heart to close things out, each person. And why don't we go with Jack, since you started first?
I want to take a breath and just hold Stan and Brigitte too, but especially you, Stan, in this field of compassion, loving kindness, gratitude, delight. I just feel that you've offered a blessing to me that's so important. And the beautiful thing is you offer it to almost everybody. you know? So it's sort of, you radiate blessings. And the beautiful thing, again, is it's not something you do. It's really what you are, what you have been. And aren't we lucky? That's all.
Beautiful. Paul, final thought?
Yes, I'm so delighted that the Cosmic Game was chosen for this because I love all Stan's books. They all are valuable. They address different aspects, some more therapeutic, some more looking at kind of worldview. But two books that are particularly special for me. One, When the Impossible Happens, is something that I think it's a good start. If somebody comes and does not know anything about Stan, that's a book to read. But the one that really comes to my heart is The Cosmic Game, because it does answer the 5 questions that has been with me since I was 6, 7 years old and will be up to the last minute. So I'm so just delighted about the choice.
Beautiful. Brigitte?
If people want to experience Stan the way he was described so very, very well in this birthday meeting, you should watch that course because he's there, right there, with everything we all said about him. You know, the depth, the knowledge, the incredible openness, the connection of science and spirituality. And his teaching is gentle, it's powerful, it's wise, and sometimes really funny. So you can really experience Stan in that teaching. And it's so special because it was a whole day. It was not like an hour or so. So it's really very, very deep, deep knowledge that gets transmitted there.
Diane?
You see what one would like to come through. I think at the end of my life, this has come to me several times at different, when I'm quiet and I'm open. One of the most profound gifts in my life will have been the connection with Stan, the doors that have opened as a result of that, and the opportunity that association, our association, Stan, gave me in terms of bringing your work, the work, all over the world. It's the international experience that we've shared often in situations where I haven't even had language in common with the population of people that I've been serving, and the depth of intimacy, the felt experience of intimacy and connectedness on a global level. And the work just in these really turbulent, difficult times, I keep coming back because of that intimacy, and it gives me hope, and it has offered me a sense of resilience. So that wasn't quite as articulate as I had hoped, but just you've been one of the most important teachers, mentors, friends, role models that I've had in my life. And I'm incredibly grateful. And I'll be incredibly grateful until the end of this experience in this form. So
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Chris?
Well, I'm very pleased that this program is focusing on the Cosmic Game, Stan, because like Paul, this is one of my favorite books of the many books that you've written. And particularly today, when so much of the psychedelic renaissance is focusing on the therapeutic applications and documenting those applications, it's important for us to remember that those same techniques, the same medicines of amplifying consciousness, when carried deeper and deeper, open us into a profound communion with the universe. And I think this is a message which is profoundly important today. And the opportunity to meet you in these lectures for your listeners, your viewers, to get to watch you teach, to experience firsthand the depth and breadth of your knowledge and your special personality, the way it comes through with this lightness of touch and depth of being, I think is just wonderful. And especially important, I think, is the opportunity for the viewers to ask their questions of your colleagues who know your work so well and appreciate your work so deeply. That's a very special component of this program. And I'm very happy that this is a way that we all get to celebrate your birthday. It's just wonderful.
Beautiful. Rick.
You've really been a role model for courage in sticking to what you know and have seen to be true, in compassion for your focus on therapy, in clarity for your just intellectual contributions to try to really get to the depth of what's actually happening. And so I've just been inspired throughout my entire life, and am just hoping to help pass the baton as you've passed it to us, and to us, we try to pass it to the next generation. And I think this course will be a big part of this continuing of the legacy that you've helped create for all of us, and to bring the healing and spiritual potentials of psychedelics and also holotropic breathwork into the world. So I'm profoundly grateful for all I've learned from you.
Beautiful. Jay?
You know, like Diane and many others here, I have the honor of working with a lot of people in breathwork experiences, psychedelic experiences, and sitting with them in the circles that develop. And a few things that I hear consistently is, why doesn't everyone know about this? Why doesn't everyone know about breathwork? Why don't we all do this? And then also, more and more, this work helps me remember the best of being human, you know, what it is to be human. And Diane mentioned hope. And I suspect that as we go forward in the future, we're going to be called upon more and more to ask, what is it to be human? How do we be human going forward? What is the place of humans in the cosmos? So to have a chance to participate in this course, look at these lectures with esteemed colleagues, listen to questions, is just super exciting for me. And I hope can reach a lot of people at a time when I think we need it.
Beautiful. Well, I have to concur that given all the tumult in the world and the shadows getting played out and polarization, this work holds a master key to unlock the depths of human potential, to shed layers of conditioning, to open to our highest role in the cosmos. And Stan, you really just pioneered the pathway, not only theoretically, but by your example. And it's really clear in how you've touched people. Stan, deep gratitude for you, for your legacy, for this birthday. And I'm so looking forward to the cosmic game getting delivered through the cosmic course with so many beautiful people. It's a really unique opportunity to take in the depths of what you've discovered over the decades, and just really grateful to partner with you in this in whatever way possible. So thank you, Stan. Thank you all for your beautiful, moving. I mean, I had tears in my eyes multiple times. I didn't realize it was going to be quite as emotional in an hour, but it really is beautiful, the hearts and souls and ways people have been touched. So thank you.
Well, said Brigitte that said that she would like me to be in 200. And
to 100, to
200,
live to 100.
200. Oh, that's a good.
To 100.
All I can say is that I would like to be there with you.
Oh,
That's a good.
We do what we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a sweet and tender and beautiful time. So thank you all. And again, just gratitude, prayers, blessings that this work, that humanity keeps taking this wisdom in and evolving out of some of what we're experiencing into a much more radiant possibility that you've really helped to illuminate for us, Stan. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and all our friends and colleagues for sharing this with us and celebrating
Sarah,
this.
so bring some wonderful friends.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you
So much.